See, Earth has a heartbeat.
Nature is as hostile as it is loving. And when you're in the middle of nature, it's completely out of our control.
So what the
Yeah.
is that?
What I want to hear about from you is your camping trip. You were gone
Sure.
last week. Yeah, tell me where you went. Tell us where you went.
The name isn't very appropriate. Not that it's bad, but that it doesn't really fit the description of where we were.
Gotta say
It's
it.
called Wild River State Park.
Oh.
And one would think, oh, whitewater. No, 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 no. This is your quiet, just totally slow-moving level river. I don't know. It's almost like they named it that as a joke. Oh, this river's wild. Ooh, whatever. It's gorgeous. It's on the Minnesota-Wisconsin border. I was on the Minnesota side, but the St. Croix River is the border. So my buddy Nathan he's kind of a hippie, not politically, but he loves his nature. Like he wouldn't have the line, I don't think, with far left policies, but he also really digs like the nature stuff. And like when we take walks, he'll go barefoot, and he's got a ponytail, and he's in his 40s, and he's earthy. So that's great. That's great. He's talked me into going camping now twice this summer, and he likes to camp. So we're not talking about an RV. We're not talking about having like running water even right there. We're talking about bring everything on your back and go. And so he prefers what's called walk-in campsites, not drive-in, and certainly not like RV places where you can plug in your RV and have power and all that stuff. No, no, no. You park your car in the parking lot, and then you put everything that you're going to take with you out there on your back, and you take 50 pounds or more of stuff, and you walk. And he picked the furthest one out. This was a 2-mile hike with like 50 plus pounds. I'm thinking maybe 60, 70 pounds.
How long a hike?
2 miles.
2.
So whatever, but it's hilly. There's a lot of sand because it's on the bank of that river. Some of it's in an open prairie, some of it's in the woods, some of it's muddy, and you're just busting your hump, getting through there. And at first it feels kind of, when you put something heavy on your back, it feels kind of like, yeah, this feels good. This is a good solid weight. Yeah. But man, after half a mile, you're like, oh, my back.
Yeah.
So then you got another mile and a half of that. It just goes and goes and goes. And that was, I wouldn't choose that, but when in Rome. So whatever, we get out to the campsite, and it's overlooking the St. Croix, and we're about 50 feet up. It's about maybe 30 feet up, tall bank. There's the big, wide, slow-moving river, and on the other side is the other side, which is like a 30-foot bank of just nothing but trees.
Yeah.
So fall colors just starting, and we can hear a highway, so there's that. But besides that, we are out in the middle of wilderness, and
what did you eat?
So he brings what he call there's a name for these, like MREs.
Yeah, MREs. That's military stuff. Yeah.
So it's dehydrated. There's no water in it, so it can last forever. And you boil water, and he has a little propane, whatever, just a little flame comes up out of it. He puts a little pot on there with water in it, and we bring water, and we would go to the visitation center 2 miles away and fill up those water bottles when needed. So he boils the water, and then you pour it in the bag of the MRE, and there was beef stroganoff. There's like some sort of Southwest chicken. There's like a skillet dish with egg, potatoes, noodles. You pour the hot water in there, and then you let it sit for a while. You stir it, let it sit a little longer, and it's prepared. It's amazing how they work, and they're not bad.
So okay, so this is just kind of a question about camping, nature versus, I don't know, city life or whatever. So okay, I get the convenience of an MRE, right? It's not going to spoil. You just can make whatever with it, but
it's light.
It's like, um, but
like
it
the
almost
caring.
feels like the shittiest version of food, like that you could bring. That I mean, it's not as okay. It's not as though you're going out and you're killing some food or you're fishing. You're not really you're not going out and finding food in nature. You're
Hmm.
bringing food from the city to eat in nature. Is there a reason why you couldn't just bring some like good food, like actual, like I don't know. I mean,
Well, there's
like
no.
why is it that if you're gonna go into if I get it if you're just gonna go straight, like
If
if
it was an afternoon, we could bring picnic food.
yeah,
The trouble is that we were there 3 days
yeah,
and there's no refrigeration. So, although the nights got cold, it was like 40 degrees the first night,
yeah,
and I had to put I'm freezing in my sleeping bag. I had to, I, I put, we would remedy that, but the first night I put clothes that I brought on top of me. So there's my pants over my feet and shins. There's a shirt, a sweatshirt
good.
over my like thighs and,
Uh,
and belly, and then another piece of clothing over my chest. And this is on top of the sleeping bag that I'm already tucked inside. And
yeah,
it's
okay,
really kind of a trip to try to sleep when you're chilly and
yeah.
in the pitch dark. And through the tent you could see the stars up there brilliantly bright. And oh man, yeah, it's an experience. I am the most significant thing is, and we've all experienced this. Just go out where where there's very few people, if any,
Mhm.
and there's lots of activity nature-wise. So, I mean, just listen to the ducks, listen to the frogs creak,
Mhm.
listen to the perhaps this is one of the more part. Listen to the breeze through the trees,
Yeah.
and that see, Earth has a heartbeat. You know,
Mhm.
nature has a heartbeat. Nature has its own energy, its own vibrancy.
Yeah.
And to tap into that, to listen to it, to get on that frequency is I don't know, it's super powerful.
Mhm.
It's super unique to how we're used to living as well.
Yeah.
If we're hunting, if we're hunter gatherers and we're out there in nature a lot, then that that's a little different. But we are so detached from that, and man, it makes for quite the contrast. And I love both. I love
Yeah.
both. But I have to remember to love the nature one. That's part of who I am as a human animal, right? I would say it's part of all of us, but I have a friend who doesn't like he loves cities, and
Yeah.
okay, cool,
A lot of
but
people don't.
that nature stuff really,
Yeah.
I, I wish I could speak more poetically about it because but in a way you don't even want to put words to it because it's about experiencing just what is and not trying to capture it with words or images with a camera or with writing, to just simply look at the moon and that's it. Just look at the moon, dude.
Mhm.
Look at it. And it feels maybe awkward, like, okay, I see it. Yeah, it's the moon. Now what? No, no, no. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
Just take a look at that. This is, and it's not that the moon necessarily has to be a brilliant thing, which I think most people actually think it is. But let's say it's not that brilliant of a thing. Maybe it's just an anthill. So it's really not that brilliant. It's just an anthill. Okay, but I think the power is in recognizing that existence.
Mhm.
That's what I'm trying to perhaps say. It's about existence. Uh, that anthill exists. We exist, and there's something not just good to know or good to remember,
Mhm.
but I think mind blowing.
Yeah.
Uh, and I get overwhelmed. In nature, I get overwhelmed with that. I'm behind these eyeballs in a way, right? Like
Yeah.
my consciousness looks out or looks out from these eyes and sees you and sees my hand in front of my face, and I am in this, but it's like it's
Mhm.
existence, man.
Yeah.
And something about nature really helps you, because nature doesn't get up into its head with invention and imagination and foresight and memory and worry. The human brain has such power. It can invent and collaborate to create cities out of nature. How do we create a smartphone
Science.
out of where I was in that river valley? It's nuts. But that's this. But what's also nuts is kind of like letting go of all that invention stuff, because I kept wanting to imagine my house being across the river and having a beautiful riverside home, or I wanted to imagine an invention to help the fire stay lit longer, or to cover us up if I wanted to think intellectually or analytically, and it's like, just turn all that off and look at the moon, or even look at the anthill, look at the leaves and the breeze.
I think so. The closest experience, because I know what you mean when you're out in nature. It's super loud. I went camping one time this year, and it's super loud. Like, everything is just loud. But the most kind of,
you mean like the sounds of nature are loud?
Yeah. The sounds of nature are loud. But I think the part of nature that has kind of captivated me in that similar way, where I feel overwhelmed, is the ocean. I lived in San Diego a couple different times, and I remember there were times at night, not during the day because I'm distracted by stuff and whatever, but at night when it's just dark and you see the moon reflecting on the waves, on the water. That it's beautiful to see, but the sound, that's when I would realize how loud and how relentless the sound of the ocean is. It never stops. And once I kind of just had that little bit of like, oh, this you can't sit by the ocean without being completely surrounded by the sound of the ocean. And kind of what you were saying, how I think, man, we've got to this point where we try to control our surroundings. We build houses, we have air conditioning, we have heat, we have all this stuff to control our surroundings. And when you're in the middle of nature, it's completely out of our control. Right? I can't make the ocean get quiet. You can't make the noise, the wind stop, rustling the leaves, or the crickets, or the whatever. We're vulnerable, and I think there's this kind of, I'm gonna take it here because why not? It's almost as if you're that businessman who has got a business person who's super powerful, controls everything. But in your downtime, you hire a dominatrix because you gotta. It's something has to force you to let go and be vulnerable, and it's because it's just kind of you can't be on guard all the time, or you can, but it just wears you down.
Yeah.
So nature gives you the opportunity. It will dominate you in a way that lets you free of the responsibility for a while, because it's just you can't control it. So I think, in a weird way of me taking it to that place, I remember being by the ocean, and I got kind of annoyed. I didn't let go. I just kind of was like, I just don't want to hear this noise. I don't even know why that was my why that was my desire. But looking back, it's like, oh yeah, just let go and let nature just control the situation and be a part of the whole thing instead of trying to control the whole thing. So anyway,
it's an opportunity to recognize the limits of your power and the inevitability of because we can try to control things, but we all get old and we all pass. So there's that recognition of our existence, it being temporary, and we can let go of the illusion that we have control. And there's great relief in that, but but it's also, for some people, it takes a lot of courage to let go, because they have a lot invested in these, whether it's your identity or the illusions that we have of control, the ego. All this is why nature has a spiritual quality to it. Connecting to nature, experiencing nature has a spiritual quality to it. I just love how it contrasts. I see it. It's not right brain, left brain, because at least how it's popularly known, right brain and left brain has to do with creativity versus say, um,
Logical,
more,
mathematical,
yeah, more hard science stuff.
spatial,
But
whatever. Yeah.
yeah, but nature offers another, I don't know, maybe a deeper part of our older brain or something like that, where we can simply be.
Yeah.
Right? And we came from the forest or from the plains or from wherever, so that's home, right?
But
In,
also,
in a way, it's a homecoming.
it is, but I also don't want to romanticize things because I get kind of like annoyed when people talk about nature as being this like natural remedies or this or that
Hmm.
and like
Hmm.
there are a lot of good things that come from nature, yes. But the other side of that coin is that nature is constantly like everything is about survival and
Hmm.
basically nature or the things with when you're out there there's more trying to kill you than to save you, right? You have to fight against nature to survive.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's this yes, it's there's a lot of beauty and a lot of good, but like you say, you're cold. Do that in the winter. Do that in some place in the middle of in Arizona in the middle of the summer, like or the animals or just this or the eating the wrong plant or whatever. Nature is as hostile as it is loving, and that's not saying that's not good or bad. It's just is what it is. But there's two sides of that coin. Like nature
Yeah,
has the upside, has the beauty. It's also got the pain. And
yeah. I yeah, I think people confuse the two when and that's good that you say that, because something I said to Nathan, it hit me just, boy, it maybe even hit me that first night we were there. If not, then it was the next morning, because we got there on a Tuesday night and we stayed or we got there on a Tuesday afternoon. We left on a Friday afternoon, so it was 3 full days. And it's not long after we were there, I had this insight and I just spoke it aloud. I said, Nathan, nature is beautiful, nature is cruel, but I think most important or most impactful to me right now is the fact that nature just is.
hmm
It just
yeah.
exists.
hmm
And that isn't about whether it's ugly or beautiful, because you're right. Nature is
Everything's trying to survive, and nothing. Everything feeds off of something else. Nothing feeds off of just. I mean, I guess sunlight. Yeah, okay, there you go. But most things, plants aside, all animals feed off of things.
oh yeah.
You know, and if you are one of those things, then there you go. But hopefully you're not one. But anyway, yeah, nature.
I don't mind romanticizing nature's spiritual or nature's fundamental nature. But about that state of it existing, and it doesn't try to gloss over that or
Yeah.
add to that.
hmm
It's a perfect representation of existence.
Yes.
And so that to me is the mind-blowing beautiful part of it. And it opens the door too to there's 200 billion stars up there. And these,
More.
hey, wake up. Do you
Mhm.
realize, like we like to say, hey, wake up, people.
Yeah.
There's a famine here, or there's homeless people here. Like we like to wake people up. It's politically like, hey, wake up. The Dems are trying to do this, or Republicans are trying to do that. Da, da, da. Wake up, man. Well, how about wake up? There's 100 billion stars up there,
hmm
and they're 100 billion light years away, and we're a speck, and we don't know how Earth even got here.
hmm
Um, so if you believe in the creation story and you believe God, where did God come from? God always existed. Okay. Like there are just a lot of
Well, and
unknowns, and it blows your mind. And what's funny is, like, I don't know, nature might be seen as the simple life, like cabin in the
mhm,
woods. Oh, yeah, just start a fire with some flint and
yeah.
whatever. But no, 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 no. Nature, the natural world, to include the universe and
Mhm.
outside of Earth,
Nature.
is the most complicated. You
It's
know, it's
the most.
nuts. And remember, our brains are from nature. Like we evolved, and so Yeah.
Well, something. Okay, so one last thing on this, and then I think I know where we're gonna go next. The when I look up at early on when I was, I don't know, in college, early on in college, I went on this camping trip, and it was the first time I'd been in on a camping trip. It was kind of in this place that's removed where there weren't a lot of trees, where there was a lot of open space, and it was the first time I'd camped where I could see the stars. And I think somewhere in the middle of the night, I woke up to probably take a leak, and I looked up, and there was more white than there was black. It was the first time I'd seen that many stars, and I've had this kind of obsession with stars and starlight and just lights in general since I was a kid. And I didn't know this at the time, but now I'm kind of more knowledgeable of stars and light and how light travels and everything. And now knowing, I mean, when we're looking at the stars, I mean, actually, when we're looking at everything, it's looking at something from the past because it took time for that light to travel. And
Speaking of mind blowing,
that are thousands of light years away.
Yeah.
We're looking into the past, like
You're
we're
right.
time traveling by look. That light was birthed thousands and millions of years ago, and we're looking at it now. And it took that light all that time just to travel. So not just so we could see it, but it took that long to travel. And we're lucky enough to be in this moment where if we look up, we can see something that has been just moving for eons, right?
And
that thought kind of, it's weird because when the light from a star, just any random star started, we didn't exist, you know?
Yeah,
Like, I mean,
yeah.
well, I should say we weren't alive, you know, and who knows, the humanity, nah, I don't think, anyway, whatever is now was not when that light was birthed. Yeah, so yeah.
Yeah. Well, that brings up the interesting idea of time travel. Just move fast enough.
Yeah.
And well, one, time is relative. If you move very fast, then time slows down. But that might have something. I don't know if that's related to the idea that if you move fast enough, then you can go faster than the speed of light.
Well,
Then the light.
unfortunately, nothing with mass can ever go faster than the speed of light. That's just
I
so.
think a theory is if, and this is like,
Yep.
yeah, just talking out of my butt here, but like if there's a time element though to distance, right?
Yeah.
So, like you said, the light from those stars, we're like looking in the past by seeing them as they were a long time ago. So if you can move very, very fast, that light will. I think if you can outpace the speed of light, then there might be a way to time travel in essence that way, because the light will keep getting further and further from you. Like you're going faster than the light, so you're getting further and further from the light. So you're always seeing more and more into the past of that star.
Yeah.
I guess there's some anyway. Like my buddy Nathan asked me like, well, that's the thing. You start asking these 7-year-old questions. Well, how big's the universe, Dad? Well, it says they estimate that it's this and this size, and that's this old. And well, what's on the edge of the universe? Well, we don't know. Well, is it like a wall, and we don't know, right?
Yeah.
And so that's also what's really cool about it, is that you realize how little we know, how I don't know if fragile is the right word, although that's
well, no, it's just
part
what
of
it
it.
is.
But
I think.
like we're just floating on this ball, and we don't know.
Yeah.
It's freaky.
Well, and I think that's one reason why, and not to get into too big of a controversial thing, but with religion, I think religion is humanity's way, or human beings' way of kind of simplifying something that's impossible to grasp with our brains. Because if you really look at space and time,
That can be part of it,
and understand like what we know now about the universe, it's just we're so insignificant in the whole scheme of things. We're so small and so insignificant, and I don't think we're made to. We don't like feeling insignificant, you know. Whereas, you know, I look up and I find wonder in it all. Whereas I think other people are just want to know, and to know something that may or may not be true gives more peace to a lot of people than not knowing.
I think one of the best things we could do to make the Earth more peaceful is have some kind of interplanetary, or at least outside of the atmosphere, travel. Because you realize, one, we're all on the same little planet. It's all about perspective, right? If you see the people across that border as, having grudges that go back however far they might go for things done in the past. But if you leave the planet and there's no borders on the Earth, right?
Yeah.
And it helps me to take less serious the things on Earth that I get wrapped up in, whether it's a sports team or whether it's a political event. It's like, oh my God, or like, oh, I don't like people from this country or that region of the world or whatever. And you leave the planet, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
like my dreams of dominating the world or having another acre of land or feeling better than those people over there. I mean, it all gets put into perspective when you go up however many miles.
I hear what you're saying, and I wish that were true. I think, unfortunately, just like we talk about nature, that the nature of our nature is to conquer and destroy and to procreate and to keep going and to and
Hey, that's nature, man.
and that's nature. And speaking of
That's any
nature,
animal's nature.
I know, and I think that we can't divorce that from ourselves because that's just who we are. But speaking of nature,
I just want to give you props because I love that point you brought up about distinguishing between, it's not whether nature is beautiful or cruel, right? And we can recognize the beauty and the power of nature, but we don't want to just say that there's no cruelty to it, because there is, but that's part of it. It's not about whether it's beautiful or cruel. I think the really powerful part of nature is that it just, like I said, it is. And it's like, it's a whole other element to it that I think supersedes whether or not it's beautiful or cruel.
Yeah.
Because it's dog eat dog. There is no, I saw a video of a chameleon, I think, or an iguana, maybe an iguana. You know, they do kind of like that kind of walk like this. It's kind of funny. They kind of have a little swagger to them as they walk.
Yeah.
And anyway, it was a big adult one in the desert, just standing there on a dune. And then a little baby one walked out, and it went like, and you know how babies can, well, I don't care what animal you are, reptile, mammal, they have a kind of a playfulness to them. Just, it was like that. I mean, it was almost like, we're going marching, Dad or Mom, we're going marching. And then the next thing you know, that adult stuck its tongue out, grabbed the little one, and ate it. And when the camera zoomed in on it, its jaws crushed the skull of the little baby that was just dancing in front of it. And you know that's probably its offspring. So what the is that?
Yeah, that's nature.
What is that?
That is the nature of nature. So
it was nuts. Like, that doesn't even make sense.
I would love to see that with like happy music, and then the scratch or the you know, when the horror movie music,
or have it be just kind of like normal, like background music, like some chords, some normal background music, and then when it starts eating the baby, then you have the happy music start.
Oh yeah, that would really just like, yeah, I think my head would kind of just, wow.